Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Leeds have just drawn 1-1 with West Brom. Make sure you go ahead and hit that big red button down below because there's plenty of videos coming out on the channel soon and we're trying to get to 9k as soon as possible. Now, whilst this might seem like it wasn't the most interesting game in the world, I do think that there were some interesting elements to pick out of it which will be important for us going forward. In that we can understand the way that teams might be able to stop us playing, and we might be able to subvert those things and play a little bit better than what we did. First of all, I just want to give a little bit of credit to West Brom because I do think they were good. I do think they were good. Like I said in my preview, Tony Mowbray's an accomplished manager, and he's a manager who he's a lot more forward thinking than you might think for an old English manager, and he did a very good job of stifling Leeds today. We're going to talk tactically about how he did it in this video as well. But in general, we struggled a lot to break them down. We really struggled a lot to break them down. And it was due to their good tactics, their defensive capabilities, putting bodies on the line to stop chances and to stop shots. Our goal was good, but it almost came from nothing. And as the game went on, frustratingly, look,
I'm in.
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 They're all in. Are you?
Their goal as well came from a set piece. Let's talk about the goals, both of them. First one, Dan James out on the left-hand side. Because he's out on the left-hand side, that then allows Junior Firpo to come into the half space. Firpo goes further because usually he would wait on the edge of the box if he was going in there, but he goes further than he usually would do, finds himself on the 6-yard box. Dan James loops a little ball into the box. Firpo gets on the end of it. Very good header and a good goal. I'm just seeing him be presented with man of the match there as well. So Firpo gets on the end of that. Then you've got their goal where cross-cut, like, look, we shouldn't be giving free kicks away in that position. The free kick comes into the box. It goes towards the back post. Bogle is left with 2 players on his own there, and I'm not sure who it is that should be helping him. I can't remember whether it's Tanaka or Rodon, and one of the other defenders should be helping Bogle out with his man at the back post, but instead there's 2 Leeds players on one West Brom player, which then allows the West Brom player Hegem to be the free man, whilst Bogle is split between 2 minds of which one to mark. I think that Bogle should do better in that situation as well. Anyway, I do think that he should have been the one to be less weak, to properly stand up and go and jump for the header, which he didn't. It was a good header by Furlong, but he should have been marked a lot better than what he was. So with that being said, let's have a little talk about the tactics then. What is the issue that we've been causing? Now, I've got a video coming out in a few days which will explain a little bit more about this, but about the style that we want to implement when and if we go up to the Premier League. But this one's going to specifically talk about us building up from the back. So here's one I made earlier. This is, as you can see, the old trusty tactics board, Leeds Lately style. Who is it that you can't see? You can't quite see that one there. So what I'm going to do here is tilt the camera ever so slightly. Oh, perfect. Right, now you can see what's going on. So what I want to talk about is the way that we build out from the back. Now, they were playing in a... I think I've got an extra player in there for them. Let's take him off the board. They were playing in a 4-2-3-1 formation, similar to what Leeds play under Daniel Farke, but their 4-2-3-1 system, when they don't have the ball, turned much more into a bit of a 4-4-2 situation. So you could see that this is the way that they would be marking. So let's say that Leeds have a goal kick. Usually the way that we would play out from the back is that Meslier plays it into Rodon, for example. Rodon gets the ball here and you think, okay, well, what are his options? You've got a high wide fullback who can drop into this space here and receive the ball, but often that can cause an issue for Leeds because if this player comes across and marks this and this player comes across and marks this path, this fullback has a little look and they go, okay, well, actually my only real option is to go back to Rodon. And you see that happen very often because sometimes we're forced to make the pass to the fullback. The other option for Rodon is that he can be a bit braver and he can try and take the risk, and that risk would be to have somebody like Dan James, who originally starts out wide. He makes a sprint run inside, into that space here, and even if he's followed by the fullback, the ball from Rodon, if it's good enough, finds his feet, which then can release the fullback, then can release whoever's in this role if he can turn. So that's the ideal situation that we want to be in. We want to be able to make that bit of a risk pass into this winger who comes inside, and then it sets off the fullback, sets off the forwards, etc., etc. Now, that's the pass that we usually want to make. That's the way we would like to play out from the back, with a winger coming into the half space, receiving the ball and playing off him. Now, the issue that we had in today's game is that when we had situations like this, they're playing a bit of a mid-block, okay? So they're not actually going to be pressing our centre-backs. They're going to let our centre-backs have the ball. So a lot of the time in a situation like this where they are letting our centre-backs have the ball, you'll actually see that Tanaka might drop in there, which would allow for an extra centre-back when playing out from the back. So then you might actually see the front two drop even more deeper into that midfield. Now, the issue is that when Meslier plays the ball to Joe Rodon here, he wants to play this pass like we mentioned. But what happened in this game is that a lot of players converged on the ball at that point. So you'd have this player, this player, this player, and this player would come in and mark this as well. And this player would come in, and essentially they've thrown a big net over our passing lane and over the way that we want to play the ball. If the ball is then attempted to play into here, you've got probably 2 or 3 players who can come across and make that interception, which obviously is going to cause big issues for Leeds. So throughout the first half, I think we really struggled to do that. And we struggled to play out from the back, and therefore a lot of our passes out from the back, let's say that your strikers are back here again, a lot of our passes that came out from the back ended up being the one to the fullback, which then means you've got to go back to the centre-back again, maybe across to Tanaka, out to Strauch on the other side. You might see that Rothwell can come in and pick this ball up here, but again, when he comes and picks it up, you have a squeeze from the opposition. They all come across. Rothwell goes, okay, where the hell am I supposed to go now? So you go back here again to Strauch, who then goes, okay, let's play it out wide here. But when he plays it out wide, you have everybody squeezing up, forcing the kind of like everybody into one little portion of the pitch, which then makes Firpo go, okay, well, I've got nobody to pass to. Now, Leeds have got players who can pass very well in tight spaces, but there still becomes an issue when you have that many players pressing you at all times. You're not always going to be able to maintain possession. So what's the solution for this then? Because Leeds didn't seem to have any answers for it in the first half, and we couldn't break out in that fullback position in the first half. The answer to it is there's a couple of things you can do. Number one, you can play a long ball and attempt to play a long ball over the top, stretch them, and it will allow these players a little bit of a think twice about what they're doing. Do I just press in here if they can just get the ball at the fullback and bypass the midfield over the top into Joel Peru? Leeds didn't try that really at all. And I know it sounds like long ball football, but sometimes you've got to mix it up a little bit to kind of alleviate the situation that you're in. The second thing that you can do is try and switch the point of attack, which we did once and it nearly resulted in a goal, and we didn't do it again, and I don't know why we didn't. It's something that I reckon Farke would have said to them at half time. The ball, I think, came into Bogle here, and therefore you had this squeeze over on this side. So everybody came over a little bit, everybody squeezed this space, and because of that, because the ball was out wide on that side, that meant that Solomon would tuck in here to this half space to allow maybe a little bit of a gap on this side. What happened was Tanaka came in and offered an option, received the ball there, and what Tanaka did, which we should have been doing so much more in this game, was played a switch. So he switched the point of attack. He basically played a long ball over the top, switched it over to this side for Junior Firpo, who took a lovely touch and could run down the line with it. Suddenly, you've got the opposition players running back towards their own goal. Eventually, we all got to the edge of the box and we were attempting to play it in. Firpo got to here and he played it across the box instead, and then we had people arriving late, and eventually the shot was blocked, but it was a good opportunity, and that needed to happen so much more. The switch of attack is something that you can't do constantly because, A, if you're playing that many long balls, they're going to be very inaccurate at times. You've got to wait for the right situation for it to happen. And yeah, maybe it only presented itself once or twice, but I think we should have potentially tried it a little bit more, because it wasn't working the way that we were playing. And then the final option that you can have in this situation, if we just reset a little bit, let's have Piru. Let's try and put Piru here. And then we'll just roughly put that there. The other option then is if you've got the fullback here, if you play, the centre back here, if you do play it into the midfield, if they can turn and hit Piru early as possible with his back to goal and he can hold it up, that's when you can get players in and around him to come and receive the ball, which we did do a couple of times as well, and that gives you a little bit more of an option to have the ball higher up the pitch and sustain the possession up there. But when we do that, we have to move the ball quickly. We have to move the ball quickly to make sure that these guys are pulled out of position so that when then Piru plays the ball back, there's more space for somebody like Solomon to make a run inside in that half space to go in and be through on goal. And we didn't do those things enough. But the positive for me of that is, okay, West Brom have basically put down a blueprint of how to play against Leeds. Let's get rid of this now. West Brom have basically put down a blueprint. This is how to play against Leeds. You cover those passing lanes that they like to play out from the back, and they haven't really got a way to build attacks. Now, the positive for me is that we have learned a big lesson from this, and that is that we need to use those different angles of attack, those different ways of building out from the back to be able to survive. Now, if we go up to the Premier League, there's going to be managers who are smarter and more equipped than Tony Mowbray, who would try and do the same thing. So if those are our only ways of building up from the back, we're very limited. So we need to make sure that we are able to mix it up. We are able to change it if we need to. And that's my kind of takeaway from this game. So I'm taking a big positive from it. It's a point. We're now on 76 points. Sheffield United, at time of recording, haven't played yet. They'll play at 3, I reckon. I haven't actually checked the schedule. But we're still ahead in the league. We've still got a ridiculous goal difference. Nothing to be panicked too much about, but I do think it taught us a lesson, and I think that's a good thing. Plenty of videos are coming out now on the channel in the next few days, so make sure you go ahead and hit that big red button down below. Also, hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. We're trying to hit 9,000 subs as soon as possible. Thanks for watching Leeds Lately, and I'll see you in the next one.